everybody. Welcome back to KF&JF podcast. Man, I tell you, it's been such a good month this month. We've had a lot of different people that's come onto the show, and we're so proud of all of them. But today, man, I tell you, we have somebody that I'm excited to share with you all, with all of the different businesses she has and the things that she's doing out there is so inspiring. So I'm looking forward to hearing from her, and I'm definitely know you are too. But first, we're going to go ahead on and kick it over to our co-host over there, Razak.
Hey everybody, my name is Razak. I am the CEO and founder of United Minority Business Ventures. My company assists in the creation and maintenance of your business by forming opportunities to communicate and collaborate with your followers, subscribers, and other business owners. We use a wide range of networking tools and methods to achieve results. We assist in the idea associated with social media marketing, building your marketing profile, creating your marketing strategy, or building your financial profile for your business. We also assist in branding your product or merchandise. We may also determine what licenses are needed to operate your business. And if you're intending on owning a domain or buying into a pre-existing domain that is hosted by another page. We also assist in managing your website by selecting posts that create subscriptions, comments, and likes. And we also assist by generating comments on other individual business sites or page that create a dialogue of conversation directed towards your page. We also help navigate through the thousands of companies asking you for money when there's free companies out there. I'd just like to say to Joyce, it's a pleasure to meet you today on the podcast.
Yes, man, I really do want to tell everybody, we really appreciate the work that Razak is doing out there, bringing companies together and bringing people together as well. We have such a great impact in that. So we look forward to him talking a little bit more about that. But right now, we are waited long enough to talk to this young lady right here. Why don't you go ahead and introduce
Yes.
yourself, Joyce?
My name is Joyce Hayes. I am the CEO of Unik 3D Artistry, Unik 3D, Unikextensions, and the Toy Box Salon. And I want to first start by saying thank you guys for allowing me this platform. Also, I want to thank Michelle because that's my girl right there. You know, we network really good together, and this is just an opportunity and a blessing at the same time. Um, so I also interview people throughout my journey, and I kind of ask people what their why is. But when people ask me what my why is, I tell them, I don't have a why. I just do things on impulse. And so my journey is definitely an amazing journey. And I am so excited to tell you guys a little bit about myself. And yeah, I am that girl, the one who has the networking skills, the one who is definitely community activist about helping people within the community, just kind of teaching because there's a lot of different things people don't understand about business, and most of it is a lot of work. I mean, it's a lot of work. It's a full-time job. Being a business owner, an entrepreneur, whatever you might want to call yourself, it's a full-time job. And unfortunately, it's going to take some time for you to learn, but if you got the right sources, you can learn.
Wow, that's kind of like what this podcast is about. And I think you're hitting it on the head right there when you talk about the responsibility that comes with entrepreneurship and whatnot. So what motivates you to be out there doing this?
Um, Coming from a loss of self-identity is what motivates me. Everybody always has plans for me. You know, when you're a kid, your parents have plans for you and, they want you to do this, this, and that. And I realized that I had to plan myself, but then, you have life happen, and that's when you have kids. That's when you're married and life happens. And with that life happens, you start to lose your identity, and it's not intentional, but you put other people first. And then when you do find a little piece of you, you're selfish. It's like that box, you don't want to share it with anybody. And then pretty soon you get to the point in life where that box opens up and you just want to share with everybody because your story might empower someone else to move on and motivate themselves to go to the next level.
Right.
When you talk about losing identity, I have another question for you, but I'm a little curious about what do you mean by that? What part of your identity did you feel like you were losing, or what part of it you think that someone was pulling away from you?
Because if you don't know how to be a mother, you now have to learn to be a mother. If you don't know how to be a wife, now you have to learn how to be a wife. But when you're coming from being young and not really having an identity as a child, because I'm the middle child, unfortunately, middle child, we got issues. But I just never felt like I had a place, and so I ended up being married and then having kids and never really finding out what I really enjoyed in life. Like I didn't have anything that I really, I mean, I did art, but it wasn't like an enjoyment at the time because, I had so many other responsibilities. So for me, I just felt like I didn't have something for me. I had to deal with everybody else at the time. Like that helps.
Well, from a woman's
Yeah, that helps.
perspective, sometimes the man doesn't know. Sometimes we don't have any idea of what, in some way, that we're um, not allowing to happen, and our wives to have their identity to be able to do things that they feel like they're comfortable wanting to share, whether it's a craft, whether it's going places, going with their friends. There's a lot of things that pulls on that, and from the man's perspective, it's always enlightening to have understanding, because as we go forward, we want to be the best black men that we can for our queens. So that's an important part of it, and
Well,
I
it
appreciate.
wasn't just it wasn't just my ex. It had to do with my father. My father did believe women should work. He believed that, whatever I wanted to do didn't matter. You know what I'm saying? It did not matter. He wanted me to be a hairstylist, which I was a rebel on. It was like I always wanted to be a graphic designer. And in that time, women weren't doing that. And so my ex-husband, we come from Jersey, and so he didn't believe a woman should work either. I was supposed to have children and I was supposed to enjoy my life being a mother, no job, no expectations. That was my position. So you're talking about generational situations. So it wasn't just the fact that I didn't want to, but generational wise, we were raised that we didn't do that.
Okay.
Well, isn't that a hard thing to take in? One of my last questions here is that I like to know. Tell me a little bit about what's unique about you and what's people don't really know about you.
Um, I'm an introvert extrovert, so I can turn it on as fast as I can turn it off. I'm okay with being self isolated. Like, I'm okay with that. When I go out, it's a choice and I just do it. So a lot of people think that I'm always like, no, if I look at my phone like, not today. Like, I literally am cool with just being in a quiet house. Like, my house is so quiet that people are just like, wow. So I think for me, people think that I'm always like, when I go out, they see me dressed in this persona, like I'm done up to the nines, hair's curled. But pretty much I'm a tomboy. I stay in sweatpants and a hat most of the time. So a lot of people don't know that I'm okay with being basic. Like, I don't have to have makeup and eyelashes and, I don't have to do any of that. But when I go out, there's just a certain look that I have to have depending on where I'm going, whether it be business or personal. It's just a certain look. But I am content with being home and not answering my phone and talking to people for long periods of time because that's my job already.
Right.
Well, I'll be
Definitely.
darned.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds great. Yeah. Let me ask you. So, could you share a particular moment that you consider during all that was the turning point? Okay, so you kind of saying that you had the mentality, or you didn't necessarily have the mentality. The men around you at that time had the mentality where you were supposed to just have kids and stay in the house, be a house mom, whatever. So could you tell us when was the turning point that made you say, hey, I'm not that isn't me, that I'm somebody and I need to be heard or I need to be seen and I'm going to do what I'm going to do?
I'm sorry, I have to laugh at that question. The turning point, when I started to develop knowledge of self, was possibly when, okay, I've been married more than once. My second ex-husband turned around and he defended me. And he just basically said, you're not going to talk to her this way. So he kind of built up my self-esteem to where I felt like I could defend myself in conversations. I was no longer introverted, because I started off introverted. Let me just start off with that. I was introverted. I really cared what other people thought about me, and I stayed low key, And so then once I developed this identity, I knew what I wanted to do, and I propelled into this person where, I just kept pushing myself to go to the next level, pushing myself. But what happened with that is that my ex didn't know. I think it was I'm kind of intimidating, because now I have my identity. I know which direction I'm going and I'm staying straightforward, but I felt like maybe he felt left behind. And so that was the conflict of interest, is because I knew what I wanted. I wanted a house. I wanted a business. I wanted an education. I wanted all those things. And I fought to have all of those, regardless of my loss. And that's what usually happens.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, that's a lot right there. So with that being said, what activities and or hobbies bring you the most joy and fulfillment?
Okay, so I love boxing. I box. And so boxing for me was a journey of learning self-esteem, balance. And when I say by self-esteem, I felt like I could protect myself. I felt like, but bowling is really my passion, because, I was making those $9,000 purses, and, I was big time going in the bowling alley. And so that would be the only thing that I miss. But art is my passion, but it's not my hobby.
Okay. That's more what you do for a living as a career.
Correct.
So when you were boxing, do you have like a professional record, or were you just going to the gym and?
I was so so basically I had an injury which required me to learn balance, eye coordination. And so that was just my way of, and then I was coming out of a really bad relationship with someone who could possibly get in my face. And I can be honest with you, when I learned how to box, I no longer had any of those issues. I didn't even have to do anything but turn slightly and just do like this. And he already knew, don't come walking towards me. So boxing just gave me this sense of, okay, I'm okay. Everything's all right. Like you can now balance yourself. You can drive. Like I couldn't even drive a car, but I could box. And my first day of boxing is hilarious, because I'm telling the guy I'm getting dizzy and he's not listening to me. And I'm going around the ring and I'm like, I'm about to pass out. And he didn't listen to me. And I just flew back, and he came running and scooped me up before I hit the floor, which tells me that I was in a place where I had to restructure everything about myself, restructure everything, including defending myself, including it helped with my mental health, because when you're coming from an injury, you start to go through depression. So I felt like boxing was my sanctuary. I felt like it made me feel safe at all times.
Okay. Okay. So okay, that's good. So and with that balance, okay, so you was doing all this stuff to get yourself back on your feet. You had an injury and all that stuff. So how would you balance your work life versus your personal life? I guess is there a difference, or is it one and the same?
My personal life with my business life. Well, being self-employed and being a hairstylist, I set my own schedule. So the drum that I beat is my own. So when it came to boxing, I had control over my work schedule. So I would just move people down. When it came to my art, I was also in charge of my schedule. So normally I would work 5 days a week, but I couldn't work 6 days a week, but I had to give up something. So I basically gave up my my Sunday, so that my Saturday would be free sometimes for my events. So I was able to balance myself, because when you are a CEO of your company, and I don't say entrepreneur, I don't say an owner, I say CEO, I'm in control. I have no one that I answer to.
Right. Right. Okay, so let me see what. So you had a lot of challenging situations, it would seem like. So in those situations, how did you navigate through them? And what would you say was the most one that made the impact on you that you still use today? Like, I know we touched on a turning point, but like the challenges that you had in those situations that you had when you were doing your business, or the challenges when you were boxing, or the challenges of being trying to restructure your injury, trying to come back from your injury.
I think the main challenge is not understanding my brand, not understanding what my responsibility is to my business, not being educated. Now, education is something that you go when you learn, but education is more than that. Like, what does your product mean? You got to go out and see other people's products. And I got to see that was a challenge for me, because I always just wanted to do like everybody else. Like, we got social media, we got our friends, our family. We depended on all these things. But what we didn't do is we didn't go to those events and actually learn. Like in the hair industry, I had to learn, like, I don't wear makeup. So I had to learn makeup, because I'm doing platform artist. I do magazines. So I had a whole bunch of different facets. So those were my struggles, because now I had to learn things that things that you don't even use, like hair industry. I mean, being in the hair industry, you still also got to know fashion. So I had to learn fashion. I had to do more research on that. What else? Contracts. Like, there's a lot of different challenges in business, which were really frustrating, that you can depend on other people to do stuff for you. But the challenge is, can you do it for yourself? Like, how is that going to, I mean, for me, I never really depended on my family. I depended on my ex, because he had a computer savvy. I didn't have that. So I think that was the big challenge for me, is learning how to use social media, how to use computers. I'm still struggling with that. But I think those were my main things, is just really having the complete understanding of what you're going. You can't just be a hairstylist. You're a therapist. You have so many different hats that you have to wear. And then you have to have, you're absorbing other people's energy at the same time. And I think that was the hard part, is that you absorb this energy, but you have to understand that that's not your life. That's your job.
Right. Right.
That's crazy. That's one of the craziest things out there. I have this one little question I like to ask you. Talk a little bit about how you manage the mental health part, because one of the things that we've been noticed as we've, done the podcast and have various people on, it's a struggle to deal with, like you say, taking on somebody else's problems. When when you go to get your hair cut, everybody talking about all kinds of problems. You're absorbing all this stuff. So how do you stay mentally balanced to do what you need to do, and then also take care of yourself?
So what's really unique about my business is that I deal with people with alopecia, hair loss, and little insecurities. And so I make these people, I tell them they're all celebrities. Like, I always treat everybody like a celebrity. Everybody that I meet, I treat them. They're like, "Girl, I'm not a celebrity." I'm like, "Yes, you are. You are. You are to your kids. You are to your family. You are to your community. Whoever you're around, somebody finds that you are special." And so when they come and they don't have any hair, or they have a percentage, I'm like, "Girl, we're about to work on an empty canvas. No problem. I got this." And they're just like, "Really?" But inside, I'm thinking, "Give me a second, girl. I'm going to go to the bathroom." I'm like, "Jesus, take the wheel. I don't know what I'm doing, but we're going to make this happen." And so I literally have to go from, "Girl, I got this," to, "Oh my God, what the hell? Like, what am I going to do?" And I just got to the point now where it's like, I make people feel so special about themselves, to where they're just like, "I really like her." But I'm also I'm very, I don't have a filter. So I always start off with telling people I don't have a filter. So if I say something that you don't like, just be honest with me, because honesty. So I tell people stories to open them up, and it opens them up to the point where people tell me things that you just do not tell everybody, but they tell me some interpersonal secrets, and those are secrets that I keep to myself. And it's really a cool part of my job is that I get to meet people where they're at now. And later on, you see that they've transitioned to something that is just remarkable. Like they have just basically just empowered themselves because, your hair is like a tiara. You got the little diamonds and the little tiara and it's cute, but then you start losing the stones. But the whole thing is you can take that tiara and you can add flowers to it. You know what I'm saying? You can add, little trinkets in it, something that's going to identify you. So those diamonds, yeah, they're gone. They're gone. But you still have the tiara, which means you still have the structure to build.
Right, right. You mentioned energy a little while ago, and I like to say that a lot on how I gravitate towards some people, how there's like an energy force in the galaxy, what I mean? And the friends I have, the associates that I have, it depends on the energy. It's like a pull you draw to each other. So I would like to ask you, and with that sense in mind, who would you say was your influences on your values or mindset?
I would say the women in my family. The women in my family, man, I didn't even realize that a lot of my background comes from women in my family. Like, I didn't learn until later in life that my grandmother was a hairdresser. All her sisters were hairdressers. So then I was like, really? Okay. Then I realized, I just found out that one of my grandmother used to create things, like she made wine and she did all kinds of stuff. So she was really creative. My aunt was a fashion lady, so she made art. But what was really unique about the women in my family is they had contests. Like literally the whole community had contests where they would take paper bags and they would make outfits, trash bags. Like they would take items that people would dispose of or people wouldn't even think, and literally make these amazing suits and clothes. And so growing up in a family where there was no boundaries, when it came to art. And also I found out through someone doing my documentary about me, he literally did some research on my family, and I found out that my grandmother's sisters were doll makers, and so they used to make dolls and they used to sell it. And so I feel like the women in my family, I didn't see them ever as weak. I always seen that they were always coming up with these business ideas, and some of them just to other people. My mom used to sell stuff out of the trunk of her car. And I was just like, she literally had the 99-cent store before the 99-cent store was there. Like literally I used to steal the suntan oil because, I didn't hold color back in the day, But yeah, so I really feel that the women, I don't have one particular because all of them were all together. And so from each side of the family, they all had something about them, that entrepreneur spirit about them. And I think it trickled on and it also carried on to my kids. And so I never really worried about my kids not having, because I built the tools for them to be able to build their own.
Now you just mentioned a documentary for those of us that don't, that we're just meeting you right now. What was when was that? What was it called? The documentary.
So I met up and we did kind of like what is the word? So we haven't done the actual production. He's flying out and we're going to sit down and we're actually going to go over everything. But we kind of went like we did earlier today and kind of went over some points of reference so that he can build up on like the questions that he wants to ask for this documentary. But he also started doing more background. So with the permission of me, my family is now giving him a lot of different information about me. And he started doing research, and the research he's pulling up, I'm like, I didn't even know. Like, he hasn't even hit the other side of my family. He's just hit the main points of people who raised me. And so I'm learning as I'm in this. And so he's supposed to fly out. We're supposed to set up. and actually sit down and do a complete thing and a journey. So he's doing the background for my family in Jersey, and then he's going to bring it out this way. And, you know, hopefully he never interviews any of my siblings because, yeah. Anyways.
You might say something crazy about
Well, you're right about not having a filter there. You sure let that one slip.
Is there some let me go to this next one right here. Is there some daily habits that you have that get you through the day, dealing with recovering from an injury, doing the hair, coming from the hairstyling, coming from the artwork you do, coming from just living life? Is there a daily routine that gets you through the day that you can share with us?
I have ADHD. That's it. I don't have any routine. I live by the seat of my pants. I just do stuff. Like, I'm out here mowing my lawn. I haven't mowed the lawn since I was 16. That's my new thing to do. And it's not fun. But guess what? I'm doing it. And it's also helping me because it's like I'm learning home responsibilities, but I don't really have anything that I particularly do repetitively. I box 2 days a week. He wants me to box more. I have my art, and I'm learning how to have more self-time, something that I never did, because when you get in business, you get so overwhelmed with getting product out and getting the education, everything else. And I think sometimes, like I said about losing yourself, you just get so caught up to where the anxiety builds up. So now I've done things that I've never done. I watch TV now. If you asked me before, I never had time to watch TV. Now I'm laying in bed with popcorn, watching movies. So I'm learning how to just stay still so that I can figure out what I want to do next versus just make this painting and this painting and this painting. So I'm doing a little bit more downtime. Like, I'm not used to naps in the middle of the day. But when you're a CEO, you can take naps. Like, once you get your business going, now you have to have rest time in between. I did I never had time for my kids. I'm gonna be honest with you. I've always been a workaholic, even though I had kids and everything, but they didn't get the quality of time that they should have because I became a single mother. And with that, it became overwhelming. But I don't really have a habit. I don't.
Well, I don't know how you can have a habit with all that stuff you're doing, because, you know, you're just doing so much. You know, all of it's a habit. It's just a habit of keeping busy. That's what that's about.
Habit of keeping busy.
And that's a powerful thing by itself. You know, that's a powerful thing. So what's in your bucket list then? What do you have going on in that bucket list of things that you want to do that maybe you're working toward?
So I'm actually working on a project right now. So a lot of people are like, I get a lot of people, like I said about absorbing energy, they feel like they're kind of lost because their business isn't moving the way it's supposed to be moving. But I have to reflect on the fact that these people are talented. Like, one of my friends, she is always talking about her bills. And so I'm like, this is what we're going to do. We're going to fix this. And so I decided to talk to another business owner, and I got to get the gab. So I was like, hey, so I need a spot so that I can do this class. And so a lot of people go to clubs and they go to all these different things that they're not really happy with. Like, when you go to a club, it's a lot of work. You got to get dressed, do all this. And when you get to be Gen X, you ain't thinking about going nowhere but to bed. And so it's more energy. So, you know, I decided to do more on the hosting side. So I'm going to be doing a sew and sip class. And I invited someone who literally, this is one of my friends, and she was my clothing designer for a lot of my events. She had a heart transplant. And so she was lost because she doesn't have the energy to do that anymore, like a lot of sewing and stuff like that. So I said, you know what? This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to set it up to where you can teach a sip and sew class. And I'm going to find a spot. And then my other friend, she does different projects, but she was like talking about doing some wood burning. I'm like, girl, we ain't doing no wood burning. Who does that? So then I was like, you're going to have to find something else. So she's so knowledgeable. Like, when I say these women, oh my God, they're so amazing. So I turned around and I said, let's do a cricket course. because a lot of people have Crickets. A lot of people have sewing machines. They don't know how to use them, or they use them, but they didn't use just as, So I figured that would be exciting for them to have a different journey. And so I partnered up with Cool Boy. And I told him, I said, hey, can I use your dance studio to do this? And it was just a good opportunity to merge women in a safe space, where they don't have to worry about getting all dressed up. They don't have to do any of that. And so a lot of my sewing classes is things that you would throw away. So it's about thrifting. So if you go in your closet and those pants don't fit, we can fix that. Like, no problem. I got that. Like, I want them to feel like, hey, they have these sewing machines and now they can utilize them. It also helps with mental health, because there's no pressure, because we're going to do projects that are simple. But what it's doing is it's bringing these two businesses together, and it's merging us into something even bigger, because then I can give more opportunities to other people. So while I'm thinking like, okay, I'm just going to do this little thing, this guy's head is like, boom, 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 boom. And so he's coming up with these ideas like, we can make this traveling and everything else. And so he's excited about it. I didn't think he would be, but I'm a hustler. This is my boxing coach. So I was like, let me try to get in there. And he literally allowed for me to have this space so that I can utilize it to bring more community awareness. Kids can come and sew and learn how to sew. So it's just a different platform, and it's building businesses, because there's always, everyone is given a gift. Now, how you use your gifts is your choice. But if you have a gift and you're going through depression, use that gift to benefit someone else. You can use your gifts. And it was just a really good opportunity. And so I'm more of a community person. I just got invited to be part of Temecula Valley Art. And it was an opportunity to bring more melanated artists out there, because I didn't see none. And so just for them to give me an opportunity to be part of their board, I was like, this is an opportunity that not only do I deserve, but I'm going to take advantage of. It doesn't matter that they're not like us. It matters that we are there. We live everywhere. Like, we are IE, and being part of IE, we want to make sure that everybody has an opportunity to showcase their art, because I've met so many different artists. So many amazing people, period, just traveling around. And I talk to everybody. I could be honest. I do. I talk to everybody.
Okay.
Wow. I think you said something important there. That was important. Really love that.
Yeah, you're able to allow even, okay, so the art means, like, is it painting, is it drawings, is it the type of stuff you do, is it canvas, is it just all in general, just art, sculpting?
I have ADHD. Did I say that? I think I told you that more than once. This ADHD thing is no joke. I literally, I tell people never put me in a box, because I always climb out. Art for me is so much more than just painting and drawing. Art first formulates in the brain. So a lot of people have to go, and you're creating in your mind on what you want to do. And then from there, it's just about executing it. So I don't have a stop sign. I've never have. I don't even know what they consist of. If it's something that interests me that maybe is out of my field, I usually try it. Because I learn to be a better version the next time. Like, I constantly learning. But yeah, I don't know. I don't have a.
That brings me into this next little piece right here, this little question right here, and when it comes to, like, what is it, ADHD? So, for a person, or for you personally, what is keeping your interest up? When you're boxing, is there music that you go by when you're indulging in something new that you haven't tried before? You're thinking you have interest in it. Well, is there books that you can say that inspired you, or added to the knowledge that you sought out to have during your art or during your business right now?
No, I'm a hairstylist, and so I learn a lot of stuff, whether it be grant knowledge, business knowledge, I learned so much from having the different diversity of nationalities, because used to work in a multicultural salon. And so you kind of hear people's journeys, you get excited. It's like, I'm going to try that. And I'm going to try this, and it's like, I'm going to do this. And I just kind of, having ADHD, you're never balanced. You're always half tilted. So you're always trying to find that. It's like dopamine. Like you're literally craving dopamine. And so that's how it is for me. I don't know how it is for most people with ADHD, but I'm always craving the dopamine. Like, what's the challenge? And once you get that challenge, it's like the euphoria. And then it's just kind of like, okay, what's next? Like, that's my journey, is that I'm literally always trying to find the next thing that I can do. And so I have graduated from flat art to 3D art to making my own puppets, which that's a whole different journey there.
Well, we're about to get into that in a minute, but before that, is there a particular let me see, because you have said a lot. You said a lot. You're covering a lot of things right here. Is there a particular life lessons you learned and that you would like to pass on to others from what you experienced so far?
So you guys remember I said I don't have a filter. I think my biggest thing that irritates me about people starting their business is they really believe that their family is responsible for their choices. They're not. If you start a business and you have family and friends, it's not their obligation to support you. It's not their job. You pick something that maybe they don't understand. And so I see a lot of people depending on it, like my mom ain't there for me, my dad ain't there for me, and my friends ain't there for me. Nobody support me. And you always post things about being supported, but you've made these life choices. And with these life choices, it's your responsibility on how your business moves. It's not your family. If you fail, it's not mom's fault. It's not dad's fault. You have to take complete responsibility. Yes, it would be nice for your family to support you in the way. And so in my past relationship, I just felt like I wasn't being supported, but maybe we don't understand that the support they're giving me is all they can give me. You have to take people for who they are, not who you want them to be. And so even with asking family members to help you, these are now employees at this point. And a lot of people think that it's your husband's responsibility and your kids' responsibility. But these now, when they're helping you voluntarily, that's one thing. But if you make them feel like they have to help you, I think that's a disadvantage for your business, is because you're depending on them for something that you made a personal decision that you wanted to start a business. Now, it's different if it's a family-based business. That's different. But if you as an individual picked whatever business that you're in, it is your responsibility, and your responsibility only for how this business moves.
I really can take that to heart, because a lot of the people that we've interviewed during this process of, uplifting small Black businesses, is that we have to, not everybody's going to ride on the ship. Not everybody's going to be a part of what you want to do, and so you have to have confidence in what you want out of your life and go for that dream yourself, because even your family may not be ready to ride with you. Your friends might walk away from you because you're spending so much time doing other stuff, and they keep calling you to go out, or can you come have a drink, or can you come by the house, can you do this? And then when you say, oh no, I'm working on this project, I'm getting my business stuff together, they're like, oh boy, you should come on over and do this and do that. And so having someone talk about the importance of not relying on anybody else to get you to your dream is important for someone like you to bring to the platform. And I think that's something we want to make sure we continue to showcase, that you can get up off the couch. You ain't got to wait for your old man to tell you to go do your hobby. You can get up off the couch. You ain't got to wait for mom to tell you all this stuff you got in your head you want to try to do to try to get done. So and having that kind of attitude, you gain so much personal like confidence for yourself. So one of the things I want to ask you along this line is to talk about legacy. Can you tell me a little bit about the legacy you're leaving? How do you see legacy, in regards to your family and business? How does that work in your life?
So coming from the Gen X, you literally were babysitter, cook. You literally had these major responsibilities that you didn't even know how to do, but you were forced into that position. And so, my kids growing up, I first started off doing that. And then I realized it was a disservice because I worked and I wasn't just a hairstylist. I wasn't just an artist. I was a basketball coach for a major high school. So I had a lot of jobs. Oh, and I was a foster care parent. So I had a lot of responsibilities. And so my kids developed this knowledge to do hair. And so with that, when my daughter went to college, she was able to do hair. So they've always had this ability to have that entrepreneurship. My youngest daughter used to sell Beanie Babies with no beans door to door and hustle people at the bowling alley. Like, are you poor? And they were just like, no. And they were like, well, can I get $1? Like, these kids just grew up in this environment where I, as a parent, didn't feel guilty for their fathers not being in their life. Like, yeah, it was sad, but I didn't bribe their love. I literally made them work for everything they had. My daughter wanted a Lexus, fine. How are you going to do this? Because she had to have a plan. So she went and got a job. She had to do it. My other daughter, she felt like she wanted, what was she trying to do? She wanted to go to school. She went to school. And I was like, you still have to make money. So I hired her to work for me. And when I realized that we could not work together in the hair industry because there was that conflict back and forth, I literally let her go and I asked someone to basically take her in. And now she is a very successful business owner. She has her own hair business, her and her husband. She's leveling up. I have a daughter who went to college. Like, these kids spend a lot of money going to college. And because of my background, she went to school, she got this major education, but that's not what she did. She became a fashion designer and she's selling clothes to celebrities. So each child has developed their own. I just have one that's a little different, but all of them have that entrepreneur spirit. And so even my grandkids, like my granddaughter was selling earrings. They're over there doing all kinds of major things because I wasn't that mom who said, okay, I'm just going to give you some money for Nikes. I'm like, how you going to get them? Like, I'm going to buy you some sneakers. They might not be what you want, but this is what I'm going to give. So I never spoiled my kids. I always made them work for whatever anything extra that they wanted. I did the basic mom. But what I really loved about my youngest, and it's not to take over any of the other kids, she grew up different than the rest of them. She literally had a notebook, and every time she purchased stuff, she would snap it, like the receipt, what she bought, and the balance. She literally would balance out her life, which I don't even know how to do that. But this kid literally would sit there and have a notebook for how she did it. Now, I'm going to have to ask her, but I don't know where she came up with that concept. And this is like, I think she was in the 9th grade and she just started doing it. It might've been younger than 9. She's just always been that way where she's checks and balances. Like, mom doesn't do that. But this kid, I don't know where she gets it from because her dad wasn't like that. So we're just going to have to say it has to be generational or who she hangs around. Because I didn't let my kids hang around a lot of people. I only let them hang around people who had great influence and power. But other than that, I didn't really let them go anywhere. And so maybe because they were more isolated and they were around me, they learned a lot about business, financing, checks and balances, they shopped at the thrift store. Like, I literally taught my kids to not live above their financial profile. So my legacy would be that hopefully it passes on to my grandkids and that they also, because, these are my grandkids, but they are being raised by their moms. So I think that entrepreneurship is definitely going to carry on with them because they have a business mindset. But they're still young. They're still young. So they're still developing.
What I was thinking about was, what could you, I know you have kids, so you've seen all of the ups and downs, how kids in our community and outside of our community live and what they're doing. So what I like to ask is this simple question, maybe not simple, but women and the youth, how do you see what you could tell the women out there about what they can do to stay active in their dream. And then how do you see the youth out there that is not exercising the things that they can use their potential for? You know what I mean? They have a lot of talent, they're just not using it. Those two things kind of like mirror each other because they're mothers and they're kids. And so if the kid's sitting on the couch seeing mom not exercising her abilities or what she can do, then the kid feel like they could just sit there and do nothing. So how do you see those two things, or what can you say to them to help them be more motivated?
I think for me, I think the biggest thing is financial literacy. And we're going on both ends. We're talking about the youth and we're talking about women. Priorities. Like a lot of women spend a lot of money, but I don't really think they understand, like maybe they do or don't, or just don't care. But sometimes your dreams don't come with a new Gucci purse. Like sometimes your dreams come with a Wally World purse, which is Walmart, just in case you didn't know. Sometimes you have to have less to have more. And so I think I can be honest with you. I kind of get kind of emotional when I hear women complain about how they have kids and that's why they can't really do what they want and they don't have time. And I remember I told you I'm very transparent. I had 11 kids. I was a foster care parent. I had 11 kids and I was running 2 businesses and I was a high school basketball coach. So I don't have the empathy for people the way they want me to. Like, girl, you got a baby. I'm like, I had a baby, some more kids. Like I literally had a whole team, okay, of kids who needed my assistance. And so even with the foster care kids I have, these kids are amazing now because they see me. They seen me make money. They seen what I did. And so I think I help a lot of youth through their struggles. Being a high school basketball coach, I was always encouraging these kids to go to the next level, and then for women, I watch them and I don't get it. Like, if this is something you really want, yes, I cry sometimes. Sometimes I don't feel like my business is going to go to the next direction, but then I have to write down, what are my goals? Like, what do I want to accomplish today? Okay. What do I want to accomplish next week? Like, I literally have to have a mindset on knowing what I want. And then once you figure what you want, you now have to write, how are you going to get it? Like, what are the steps? Most people just bypass the steps and just go, well, this is just what I want. But that's not how life is. And that's not how business is. You literally have to sit down because you have a family. We got that part. It's a long list of things. But squeezing a family and a business together, sometimes it's just overwhelming. And you have to learn to just kind of like, don't be so hard on yourself. It's okay if things don't work out this week. You never know what's going to happen next. And you just have to keep just believing in whatever you put your mind to. Like, a lot of women follow the norm. And I'm being very transparent. If there's 1,000 t-shirt businesses in the IE, and now you want to start a business selling t-shirts, what is going to make your business different? If there's 1,000, if there's 1,000,000 crickets out there and everybody can make a shirt or print it out, like, what's going to make your business different? So sometimes I think people fall into the trap, and I'm saying women in general, of trying to follow the pace of everybody else. Like, you just want to keep on rolling with everybody else. But sometimes you just got to come up with something that's just so different, so you, versus trying to watch YouTube and learn how to do this craft so that you can develop. And I think you just have to find something that's different. And I think a lot of women don't look at what sells, not the t-shirts. There, you could see, like, if you actually, and I forgot what site this is, but there's a site that'll tell you what businesses are most productive businesses, and then what businesses are productive, but they don't have enough people. Like, there's like a percentage of people that sell this and a percentage of this, but the market is flux all the time. And so you never know. Like, during COVID, I think a lot of women felt this sense of entitlement and power. Like, we all came out there like vendors, like, we can do it. But we were getting money and we were getting that support from the state and we felt empowered and people had disposable income. But now it's not like that anymore. And I think a lot of women are depressed and they're starting to really kind of feel the impact, because we were living on this flying saucer and it was so exciting. And then the plane didn't land yet, but it's just hovering at the bottom. And I think a lot of women from 2020 to 2022 have felt the impact of not having that disposable income. And so you're not having that generated income the way we did during the COVID period.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I think that Joyce has just shown us a lot about what it means to be straightforward and talking to someone, because she's setting out information out there that is just real, authentic, and honest. And so we're going to be right back with Joyce. Hey, welcome everybody. We're back with Joyce, and I tell you, this talented woman here with all of this talent, from artist to doing hair and being a mom and educating folks out there. I am so interested in her showing us those talents. Right now, we're going to look at that artwork. So Joyce, please take it away.
So basically, let me tell a little bit more about myself. So in 2018, I suffered a traumatic brain injury, TBI. And so having that brain injury caused some problems with my vision, my hand coordination, my balance. It just kind of threw everything off. And so I wasn't blind, but I was having problems with seeing, to the point where driving was now also a chore. So from sitting there, I had this thing like, okay, I like challenging myself. And I said, I always wanted to learn how to sculpt, but I couldn't afford to do it because it was like $1,000 for a class. And I was like, I don't have disposable income like that. So I said, you know what? Let me just go ahead and try. So I started sculpting. And what that sculpting did was it was teaching me eye and hand coordination. So I would have, I would show people my stuff because, I was excited, like, look. And they would be like, girl, why did I look like that? I going this way and the other way. And I was like, oh, I had a brain injury. And then people used to buy my art because they were like sympathetic. Pretty soon, I started really getting into the art industry to where I started challenging myself. So being on a social media platform that I was on, people would challenge me and they'd be like, do Michael Jordan. I'm like, I don't know how to do no Michael Jordan. I'm not that good. And they were like, yes, you are. And I'm like, no, I'm not. Like, I'm not that good. And they kept pushing me to do things. So I went ahead and did Kobe, made money off of it. Then this guy threw Beyonce, Jay-Z. Next thing you know, I started doing these pieces and I still did not have the confidence, but people do not care. They want what they want. And so I started doing more of the celebrity art. So this is basically 3D art. So if I was visually impaired, how would I see art? I tell people that because I was visually impaired. And so how I seen art was through my touch. And so every little intricate part about it is I started to touch. Well, what happens with the brain is the brain doesn't stop. It literally was forcing me to do stuff that I really felt uncomfortable with. So it was like, you know what? Let's do Aaliyah. And I was like, okay. And it was like, no, we're going to do Aaliyah, Queen of the Dams. I was like, I don't know how to do that. And it was like, my brain was like, yes, you can. So having the brain injury that I had, it affected certain parts, but creativity was not one of them. Doing hair was not one of them. And so I started coming up with some crazy stuff that I thought was crazy. But for other people, they felt like, oh my gosh, really? You're going to do this? So then I started just really kind of like, this is my Martin Luther King. This one piece right here is called Who Will Fill the Gap? So basically with Martin Luther King, we have him. This is Gen X. So after he passed away, there was no one to fill the gap. And so this piece right here just represented how I felt as a child, like I was kind of left alone. But when you ask people about this piece, they always want to ask, why didn't I put the speech, I have a dream? But for me, it was kind of like, I always tell a story when I do my art. When I present my art, I always tell a story about it. Like when I did Muhammad Ali and Malcolm X, it was during Black History Month. So I felt that power. When I did, I have actually had to turn in some pieces. Let me back this up a little bit. I had to turn in some pieces for an exhibit that I wanted to do. And so I realized, like, yeah, I'm doing our melanated people. Yeah, I've got that covered. But let me push myself a little bit further. Let me take the range so to the point of challenging myself. And I think a lot of people in business never challenge themselves to do something that they're uncomfortable with. And I was uncomfortable because now I'm going into an area where it's not us, if you know what I mean. And so I'm like, okay, what else can I do? So I already knew that I was good at doing Black art, but a lot of my Black art had to do with my insecurities that I have as a Black woman, because I never felt like I was enough Black. What does that mean? Being enough Black. And I just felt like I had to prove that I was Black through my art. And I was like, wait a minute, I'm so much more than just being Black. I'm a lot more than that. So my art turned into just doing people of color. So then I was like, you know what? I have Indian in me. So that is, of course, melanated to some people. But for me, it was just kind of coming out of an area where I knew what being Black was, but I don't know what being Indian is. So I had to do more research. So a lot of my art has to do with knowledge. Like, I literally had to research every piece that I do. And so with that, hold on, this is the mother lode right here. I did an Indian. And so I learned about the bird dance that they do. And so that's how I came up with this concept. And so a lot of my art, I didn't realize the impact it had on, I mean, I kind of did because I had some visual problem on the blind community. So when I do vendor events and there are people who are blind, it is just such an amazing thing to watch them go, this is Martin Luther King. Like, they're literally feeling like, this is the nose, this is the lips, you know, this is the chin, this is the suit, this is the tie. Like, they literally are seeing through touch. And so it was just such a big thing. I had literally had this one lady yelling in the vendor events. She was just like, does she know I'm blind? Like, this is an old Black lady. Did she know I'm blind? She know I can't see right. And her husband like, babe, you know, come on. She's like, She started touching on that art and she got so excited. She's like, this is different. And so a lot of people question me on why do I do this art? Like, I have to have a reason. I do it because I enjoy it. Like, I don't really have a why. I've just always been an artist. But another thing about being an artist is I wanted to be, my business is unique. I wanted to be different. I wanted to be something that's going to impact people in different ways. And so when I did this piece, The Broken Black Man, I did it where it was a Black canvas. It had a man in the center, just his head, and he had his hand extended. Well, what was in his hand? I kept asking people, so there was broken glass everywhere and he's coming out. What is in his hand? And he said, everybody said the heart. I said, the heart is a liar. It'll take you through places that you don't need to be. I said, but if you have the right mindset. So I had this little girl make me a brain and I literally put it in a glass bulb and it was in his hand. It would light up. And I didn't realize how that art piece would really impact men. So I would always tell the story. Like I said, I always tell a story about my art. And so I told him like what this piece meant. And he wanted to buy it. And his wife said, no. He walked away. She said, I'm going to buy it. I'm going to buy it for his birthday. A year later, I asked him how he felt about that piece. He said, it's personal. And he said it sternly. It's personal. He said, but it talks a lot about me. I said, well, what do other people think about it? He says, it's for me. It's my journey. And that really impacted me in a way to where I realized that my art has different meanings for certain people. One guy bought a piece and it was the dark on one side and the light on the other side. So it was like the sun in the dark and the guy was in the middle. He said, this is my son on drugs. And the division between the head was separate. He didn't know how to bring it back together. He said, that's what I see out of that. So art impacts people differently. And with the AI coming out, a lot of artists are going to lose the opportunity for their authenticity. And so that's something that I haven't lost because I started early in the game developing something that's just totally different. And there's not too many of us. And so I find myself being in a position where I'm going to stand out more and more. Now, if I was in New Orleans, they do this stuff already. But in California, I don't have the impact with the community support that I should have. Especially dealing with the visually impaired, I finally stepped out of my comfort zone and I actually communicated with the Blind Association and the National, and they invited me to go to Florida to bring my art because it's something that they've never had. They've never had a gallery where kids, women, and they can literally touch the art. And so even with my journey with going to events, I don't bring this art out for everybody. Let me just say this. I'm just being blanket. I have a lot of people who ask me to come out as a vendor. I know that I have high end. My product is high end. And so I'm not available to everybody. But what I am available is to the community. So I tell people if I don't pay, I show up. So I do have people I support. Don't get me wrong. I do have people that I support and I go to their events. But I'm really particular about where I go because this is not about me selling the product. This is about having a gallery setting for our kids who don't get to see art, or for us who don't get to go out to an actual gallery. So when people say, I ask people, when's the last time you went to a gallery? They'd be like, I said, today. And so that's my journey with my art. My art doesn't just extend to canvas. I've been doing these since the 90s. I do pens and pencils. So the reason why I do these is because I pretty much only do it around Black History Month and stuff like that. But I did this because I have different characters. And so I used to do different characters because I wanted people to understand that you can be anything you want to be. So I have some people who are doctors and nurses. And so for them, it's just kind of like a cute little thing because they can be anything. Sometimes they'll give their kids ones that are different. I literally had a college order. I can't think of what it is, a sorority that actually ordered 250 different ones. Doing 250, I thought that was hard. Imagine how many I've done so far. Way harder. I do affirmation mirrors, which I don't have with me. My affirmation mirrors, there's a woman in the front, there's a mirror, but in the back, there's some form of affirmation. During COVID, it was a really critical part for women. Children, it was very impactful. So I made mirrors that would reflect on, okay, in the back, there was some form of affirmation. I am beautiful. I am smart. I am loved. And so those mirrors actually really did help a lot. I had a lot of therapists buying them and everything else, but it was just a way to an affirmation that you should possibly say, or you could feel, or you can give it as a gift to somebody who doesn't feel that way. But I started doing them for barbers because a lot of the kids they're coming are kind of on the, it was just really uncomfortable part in a lot of people's lives during COVID because they didn't have their friends anymore. Everything was social media and they had something that they could look at and say, okay, I'm beautiful. And I just thought that was really cool that I came up with something that was just really different than what everybody else is doing because, like I said, my business is Unik 3D Artistry. And so I don't want to be like everybody else. So when people say, I ain't never seen this before, I know. That's my whole point.
I just have one question for you real quick. Is all your pieces, is done to show power? Because you have these figures that are, representing something powerful, or do you have figures that are just simple and doesn't really have any major big meaning? Because everything I've seen so far is powerful.
I do a lot of juvenile art. One of my pieces, Regina King's executive producer hit up. It's called My BBB. I'm actually in the Baldwin Hills Mall in LA, and he walked in there and he's seen the mermaid, and it was a little girl mermaid, and she's coming out 3D, the whole body and everything. and he actually wanted my information so that he could actually put it in Regina King's Netflix series that she has. And so I was like, okay, and so a lot of my pieces, some of them are talking is positive affirmation. Some of them are just kind of like, I don't know, like character, like this piece over here. Let's see if I can turn it. It's called Gossip. And so it's talking about the Black man and how Black men say they don't gossip, but that's a lie. And so I did this piece because I went into a barbershop, and I'm a hairstylist, but going to a barbershop is a whole different experience. Guys are talking until a woman walks in, and then everybody get quiet. And so that's why I said the gossip part. So I always have fun when I bring this piece out, and I'm like, but I know you men don't gossip, right? So a lot of this stuff I do, like Erica Purdue, I just do stuff based on what I'm feeling. The mermaid. One guy said if I did the mermaid, she's a water goddess, and I can't remember her name, but he said if you do that, you're going to be powerful, you're going to be rich. So I went ahead and made her, and she's huge, but I made her, and I didn't know what I was doing, because a lot of this art, I don't even know what I'm doing. I try to do as much research as I can, but I didn't start off this way. I do spoon art, where I'm a recycler. So I like to use pieces that I can recycle, but then I got caught up on just trying to find my comfort zone. I think I just like challenging myself. I don't really have any rhyme or reason. I just come up with stuff and do it. What's my next big piece? I'm going to do a compliment to this one. So I'm going to do a woman braiding hair, something just nothing of power. It's just me. I just don't know what I want to do, and I just start doing it. People influence me, but not by much.
What is that one that's right behind you on to your right there on the
This
bottom
one?
one under mark? Yes.
Sanford and Son.
Yeah. Okay, man. So do in okay. So what inspires you to do some of them? Are these like memories from childhood programs, or is it movies? I mean, you have so much going on. Is it, do you pull from your actual, how should I say, personal life on any of these, or is it always just something outside of you specifically?
Yeah.
So with having a brain injury, sometimes I could just be doing something and it'll just pop in my head, you should do this. And I'm like, I don't have, I mean, literally when you're coming from TBI, it's just like being blind. Your receptors are different. Like you absorb energy because now your hearing is just finely tuned, and you'll just be literally coming up with stuff that you just all of a sudden, like, I never wanted to do Martin Luther King. It just all of a sudden I'm asleep, and it literally is like, it's like a computer rebooting. It's like, and you're just kind of like, I just want to go to sleep. And if I don't follow through, like I'm going to be honest with you, transparent I am. I literally have to, like the lady told me, the therapist told me, start writing it down, the description, and maybe it'll help me go to sleep. So I was faking it. I was writing it and like I'm asleep. I'm like writing it down. And it worked for a while. And I literally pretend like I'm writing it down, and then the brain will shut down. So like doing the Indian, it was just something I didn't know. I just said, you know what? I want to do something that's going to impact, but on a different spectrum. And so the Indian part just came in, but I just never know what my brain is going to come up with next. And I think a lot of people, when they hear brain injury, they're expecting the drooling and the face. Like, I don't have that. Like I have glitches. I have problems with sleeping. I have multiple personalities. And what I mean by that, I'm not crazy. It's just the fact that I have this energy, and then I have that lack of energy. Like I get all excited, and then my body just shuts down. And so I think a lot of people see my art, but they don't understand it's always a constant struggle, because if you don't sleep deprivation causes your mood to adjust. And so I think a lot of people don't pay attention to their bodies, and they try to force, like I have a friend right now, she forces everything out of her body. She doesn't work out. She just does more art and more art. And the problem with that is when you have a setup, and I'm saying, I'm kind of off topic a little bit. When you have a setup, it has to be welcoming. It's a store at this point. Like when you're a vendor out there, it has to be opening. It has to be welcoming. And I used to be like her. I used to bring everything out, but it's just like going to the thrift store. People don't like to dig through a bunch of stuff. They just get, so I had to learn how to prioritize what was important. And so I started bringing out these type of pieces, but then I had to think about the fact that some people are not within that financial boundary. So I started pulling out my old stuff that I'd done years ago. And that stuff is selling. People are like, "Whoa, girl, this is new." It's not new. I just did a little fine tuning and sell them, but I don't really have a particular. One thing off topic that I mentioned is when you're in business, your number is your number. It's not your price is your price. Your whatever number you come up with. So it's this cute story. So people are like, "Oh, Martin Luther King, how much?" And then when I tell them how much it is, they're like, "Really?" So I said, sometimes I ask people, "How much do you think it's worth?" They said $500. What? So I tell them this story, and they said, "How do you come up with your price?" I said, "I'm going to tell you this story. There was a guy. Okay, so there was a boat, and it was sinking. It was a big old boat, and it was sinking. And so they hired all these people to come down to fix this boat. No one can fix the boat. So they found this world-renowned guy to come, and he flew out there on a helicopter. He went to it. All he had was a hammer. He walked up to it. Bang, bang, bang. The engine started going. The boat came up out of the water. So then they asked the guy how much. He said $20,000. They said, "For what? All you did was hit it with a hammer." He said, "It's not the hammer. It's the experience." And so what I try to tell people is don't sit up there and say, "Well, how about if I buy the product?" And then you put it together. That's not how it works. Art is more. My business is more than just the work. I have the research. After I do the research, I've got to figure out how I'm going to put this together. I've got to go get the product. After I get that product, I got another product. I have to paint it. Like I literally have steps. It has a resin dry. In between the resin dry, I have to keep checking it. So that project, which people think that all I do is paint, I don't just paint. I literally have to sculpt something. And sometimes you have drying time in between. And so I don't think people take into regards that we've got packing, shipping, marketing. We got to be on social media. Like this is a full-time job and we don't have any medical benefits. And so I don't think people understand it. It's more than just the product. It's the time spent developing and executing. Shipping is more than that. And so when you go and meet people, stop giving them the discount. Like one person told me something, don't sell because you're hungry. Because I used to do that. I was like, I lowered my price because I wanted to sell the piece. Because the person who can actually buy it has the money. You just haven't found the demographics. And I think demographics is really important when you go to these vendor events. Go to the vendor events at nighttime, go in the daytime so you can see what the environment looks like. Also, Google it. What is the demographics? How many Hispanics? How many Blacks? What is the marketing that person is going to do? Whatever the vendor event, what is their what is their strategy? But you can't just depend on them. You also have to depend on yourself to force yourself to go to the next level. It is your job. So don't blame the promoter of that event. Stop blaming the promoter. Blame yourself because that's your store. At that point, when you're opening a vendor, you're in a space. That is now your store. How you get people to come to your store is how you get people to come. They might come to the event and just happen to be there, but it is up to you to market yourself. And if you're marketing yourself, a lot of people come, literally when I was in Arizona, I had people who showed up just so they could see my art. Literally. And this is off of social media. I have people who literally on social media will come just to see my art because it's totally different. Like me showing you this, it's nothing. You actually visually seeing it, touching it. And I always see Black people, it's hilarious. They always like this. And I'm like, it's touchable art. You can touch it, and that's the whole point is like, it's touchable art. I intentionally resin set it so that I can clean it, but it's touchable art. And so for me, I would say to anyone who's starting a business, the price is the price, if that's what you want to say. But your financial future is your financial future. So if you give a discount, remember that person now can afford more and you are going to afford yourself less. So always remember, you started this business to make a profit. You started this business, it's a brand. What does your brand stand for? Discounts are given because you want to, not because you have to. Don't lower your price. Don't lower your standards. Yes, you might not get a sale. Yes, you might go to a vendor event and not sell anything. But how much marketing did you do? Did you pass out your card? Did you influence anybody else in your area? Like, not just influence myself. Like, I literally walk up to other businesses and I ask them, what is your why? I interview people on purpose because I want to know what the impact of these businesses are to our community. How can I better support other businesses? And I think a lot of us only think about ourselves. Like, I have a couple of different people. I'm always supporting them. I do a travel vendor event type situation where I find the spot, I know the demographics, and then I invite other people to come, which is cool because we usually get tents all by each other. So if I gotta go, they're okay. They can all watch me. And having that kind of bond and that I don't even know what the word is, but just having that connection with that many vendor events and knowing I got your back, you got my back. You know what I'm saying? We literally work on a frequency that a lot of vendors don't work on. It's like they don't want to tell nobody where they're at, because the plate is big enough for everybody. It's big enough. And I think that's the dysfunction in our community, is that everybody's looking. Like, I seen a vendor event where there were two people selling similar products, and they were just like, why she buy me? Blah, blah, blah. Literally, like, sell your product, ma'am. Like, do you know how to sell your product? Because you shouldn't, that's your sister right there. You know, help her. If you ain't got it, like, oh, well, take a look and see what you like, you know, and if they don't see anything, don't shoot her down. Don't go over there, girl, you know how Black folks be doing, unfortunately, and they don't have that in the Mexican community. I watched each other. No, go see Rosita over here. Like, they literally build each other up. And if we can get to a point where we are literally looking out for each other, and yeah, it's self-serving sometimes. I mean, I always invite other vendors. Like, I'll get, like, certain vendor events will give me 4 booths for nothing. You know why? Because I'm telling people where to get the grants. I'm basically empowering other people who just like grind, making no money. I said, but are you marketing? You know, what did you learn from this event? Because if you didn't learn anything from the vendor events that you're going to, you've done yourself a disservice. You've done yourself a disservice. Why is that person over there selling something? Go and ask them. Go and see what they're selling. See what their marketing pitch is. Learn from them. The number one thing, clutter. Don't have clutter. Number 2 thing, stop bringing all your damn family. It's not a picnic, it's a business. Don't bring your family to your business meeting. Don't do that. They got babies and everything else. That's why if you're going to be a business owner, you have to have structure. Don't bring your kids, your dog. People bring everything to these vendor events. It's different if you go to certain ones where it's family oriented, but you got to stay focused on your business. You know, you cannot be distracted. Those people want to communicate. And when you're sitting like, Billy, no, hold on, mommy's going to get you something. It's such a distraction. Like, stick to the business part. You're a business owner. Find you a babysitter. That is your responsibility for childcare. You know, being on time. If you go to a vendor event, stop leaving because you don't want to, because you ain't making no money. Stop doing that. I think that is such a disservice to the event, because then people start packing up too. Your store opened up at 9 o'clock. Your store closes at 5 o'clock. Don't leave any earlier. Imagine if you like Nordstrom's and Nordstrom closed early. You'd be like, wait a minute, you guys ain't supposed to be closed. Like, you would be kind of irritated because you're promoting yourself on a social media platform, but then you leave early. Does that make sense? So that person's like, oh, well, she ain't leaving until 5. And then you leave at 12 o'clock because you ain't making no money. It happens all the time. And I think that there should be some consequences to it. But a lot of promoters don't do it. Like, they don't want to be messy. And so I'm usually the messy one. And so when I see people packing up, I usually say something to them. I said, what time did you say? And I get in trouble all the time, but what are they going to do? Never like me again? Like, I've had people who literally were like, but should I leave? I said, don't leave. Because all those people are leaving. There's still people coming. This lady literally said, thank you, because she didn't leave. She wasn't really making any money. I said, people always have a habit of buying stuff at the end because they wait to see if the price goes down. Sure enough, her price didn't go down. I said, and don't you let your price go down. She ended up selling 5 bags and she made big money. And she was like, I just want to thank you. Oh my gosh. But that's me telling people, like, don't leave. Your store opens at this time. It doesn't close till this time. But yeah, I have a big impact on the vendor community. I'm constantly networking, socializing, and now I'm tired. Like, I'm tired. I think I've talked to enough people, but I still go out once in a while because I really don't feel like people are taking being an entrepreneur serious. They don't understand the impact on the community by actually following through what you say you're going to do. Your children, they see you struggling and then you quit. And what is that teaching our kids when the struggle gets hard, you just quit? Like, you just got to keep fighting through it. The money is going to come. You just have to believe in yourself and believe in your product. If you don't believe in your product, your business is going to fail. I didn't believe in my product in the beginning, and now I force myself to the point where I have to. This is me. This is me. And being me means that I have to come out of my comfort zone and say, you know what? I'm good enough. I'm different, but it's okay to be different. I'm going to impact people differently. The financial is going to come, and it has. It has. And wow. So I might not make the money that I thought I was going to make, but I'm making an impact every day, and you just have to believe in your brand.
You're right about that.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you for that. You was giving up a lot of game right there. Just telling the business like it should be told. That and a lot of things that you said right about there about giving back to the community and helping out. That's a lot of things that sparked the got KF&JF podcast together. You know what I mean? Giving back to the community and trying to help out in some kind of way because you also have vendors. You know what I mean? That's also a part of the podcast too. So joybelove.com right up under the KF&JF podcast. He goes to these vendors too, these shows too. So it's like, how was a better way to represent the community and give back to the community, and you're still trying to sell clothes at the same time. And I would like to thank you. That was very good. That was very good. Powerful too. I mean, you was giving up the game right there. He was kind of talking about my business a little bit when he was talking about the demographics. You got to learn this and see who sells like that. This when I get off into it, I mean, that's a part of it right there. But I want to dial it back for a little bit. And you had mentioned the TBI a couple of times, and I just wanted to ask, if you're able to, if you want to expound on that a little bit. If it was was it a well, I guess it was a head injury, but was it a crash, a fall, or was you a service member?
So basically, wanting a business, borrowing money, I didn't really know how to do any of that financial stuff. All I knew how to do was to work. And so I decided to take a job that I shouldn't have taken because I was making good money, but I wanted to make more because I didn't want my financial desires to impact my family. So, I didn't want to take money out of bills and responsibilities at home. And so I said, I'm going to get another job. And with that money, I'm going to start my toy box salon. So the toy box salon actually came from my injury, so to speak, because I had this drive to want to do this business. And so basically the toy box salon is a mobile hair salon, which I felt that would definitely make a big impact in the community. And I didn't know how, but I felt like it was more personable and it was mobile. So if someone was disabled or anything like that, I could help them. But while doing that, I took a job and I ran into a steel beam post. because we had to scan 250 packages in an hour. Now, if you know the company, I can't say the name, but you guys know who works here like a slave. But anyhow, so I ended up running into a pole and I got a concussion. Well, they kept, when you deal with workers' comp, they downplay you like, oh, it's just a little headache. It wasn't like that. My head was spinning. I was constantly in pain. I was crying all the time. I lost my balance. My vision was impaired. Emotionally, I was totally broken. Like I had no way out of it. It was like when you come from a place where here you are, you're going through running these two. I actually at the time only had one business. You're sitting here and you're doing all these things, and now you're incapable of something as simple as putting your shoes on, incapable of something as figuring out what you're going to wear. Like trying to figure out something to wear, I was crying over it. Like I literally had an emotional breakdown, and not having the support system at home, having a spouse, I was married at the time. I didn't realize that he depended on me, not only financially, but the emotional support. But when it turned out I got injured, I couldn't get that back. And that caused a big problem because now here I am, Miss, I can rule the world. And now here I am, I'm this baby, and I can't put my shoes on and I can't drive and I'm constantly going through it. And he just didn't know what to do because he depended on me. So that codependency now was turned around and he didn't know what to do with it. And it caused a bigger rift in our relationship because I was the person who did everything. And now I can't even function. It affected my businesses, all the two. So that's how the art business came about. But I already started with the idea of the toy box salon. But I couldn't do anything because now I couldn't work on the trailer. I couldn't travel anywhere because I couldn't drive. And so it just sat there dormant. And with COVID happening, everything went bad. So I started developing the art. I started selling my art. So that's when Unik 3D Artistry came. And then just recently, I just pushed myself to the next level. Toy Box Salon was supposed to be established years ago, but because of my injury, I couldn't do anything. And then I just went full force for it. I was like, everybody kept saying, girl, you might as well just get rid of it. You ain't gonna do nothing with it. And I was like, I'm not going to prove anybody wrong. I'm going to prove me right. Okay. I'm not going to prove anybody. I'm going to prove me right because I said what I said and I stand on it, not 10 toes down. Okay. I had fingers and toes on this like obligation. And I went ahead and I put it together. And then I realized how much of an impact it had emotionally for women who don't want to be in that environment where everybody's gawking and talking, and they literally had that isolation of just me and them. So it was a totally different connection. And then to have people who are disabled be able to roll up into this, and it was just totally different. And so this brain injury slowed me down, put me in a bad position relationship wise. I ended up going through divorce, and I can be honest with you, I get it. And I'm not mad, and I'm not sad. It was just a journey that there are lessons learned. That's all I can tell you. Lessons learned about business, about the codependency, the reversal of codependency. And so that's why I'm in a position now where I don't have to work for anybody else, and I was paying my booth rental $800 and always feeling like I wasn't where I was supposed to be, never feeling satisfied. And now I just walk out my house, walk into the trailer, do some hair, walk on out, go back in the house, eat what I want to eat. I ain't got to worry about going to no restaurant because I work from home, and just having the conveniency, because I still have episodes where the headaches happen, which are debilitating. I don't think people understand that debilitating headaches are the worst because you can't even function. And so for me, I've watched people say, girl, you look normal. Don't look like something wrong with you. What does normal look like to somebody who has diabetes?
Right.
What does normal look like to somebody who has a heart condition? So the reality is my normal is traumatic for me. Your normal, like my ex, he told me, he was like, I get it now. I have a headache. I know what you're going through. That's the wrong thing to say to anybody. And I don't call it a disability. I used to call myself disabled. I'm challenged. And I'm always changing the words. So when people say, girl, I'm disabled, I said, no, you're challenged. Now, how you meet those challenges you got to figure that out. And so for me, running the 3 businesses, and just to give you a little background on them. So basically, Unik Extension works in Toy Box Salon. Unik Extension pays Toy Box Salon, right? Unik 3D Artistry puts art inside Toy Box Salon. That's 3 businesses. And Toy Box Salon is on my property. I pay mortgage. Toy Box Salon pays my mortgage partially because those are 3 businesses. Those are 3 tax write-offs. And so they both all work together, unity. So it was just kind of like, and everybody's like, how'd you come up with that? I'm like, I don't even know. I just figured out that my home has a purpose. And a lot of people, they work from their garage and stuff like that. But me, I just decided that I didn't want to work for someone else. I wanted to empower myself. I wanted my customers, because remember I said I have customers who have hair loss, severe alopecia. Some people are coming from domestic violence and they don't like all of that environment, and they just want that more personal thing. So for me, it was just totally different. I'm a platform artist, so when I go to events and stuff like that, I can just pull the whole trailer, which, I got bougie with that when I went to the last show. Pulled up with it. Everybody was in the tent, getting hot, 114-degree weather. I'm in air conditioning. I loved every minute of it. But it was just like, I felt like I stood outside. Like everybody was like I felt special, but that's how Unik is. Unik does things that nobody else does. And I try to set the bar high so that people are forced to catch up. And so that's the way you're supposed to be. You want to be around people who are going to set that bar so high, and you're just going to be like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. Girl, I did it, and that's the kind of people I like to bring with me. I don't want to feel like I'm not bringing people with me in my journey. And I'm not going to pull people. I'm not carrying you on my back. I'm going to give you some opportunities to learn some things about grants and some other stuff. And I'm a mentor. Let me tell you my definition of a mentor. As a mentor, I'm not charging you. Okay, I do charge Snickers. Snickers, almond, no peanut butter. Okay. But I do charge a Snickers. And a lot of Black people say, well, why do you charge a Snickers? I said, because Black people always think there's a number. They always think there's some financial to it. So for me, I always say a Snickers just to be smart. Just it. I just try to be funny about it. But as a mentor, if you want to be a mentor to someone, don't always expect a return. Don't expect people to give you financial return. I get returns in ways that I can't even imagine. Getting 4 booths, I don't need 4 booths. You know what I do? I turn around and give 2 away to other artists, to other vendors. So if you're on my team, meaning me and you is cool, I'm gonna call you up like, hey girl, I've got 4 spots, but I'm giving up 2. What you want to do? When I go to events, I will literally buy extra spots and then ask somebody like, hey, do you want to get in? Some of these people don't have the paperwork that they need. And so I'll let them share one of my booths. So it's my booth, we cool like that. Right. So as a mentor, I don't try to carry people on my back. I try to help people and get them to where they have the self-confidence that they should have had when they decided to do a business. Because you cannot come in here and think you're going to make the money just because you sell a product. You got to make it because you have the knowledge to sell a product. And so I try to give people like the SBA mentorship program. If you're not in that program, get in that program. They literally help you troubleshoot, learn about packaging, learn about marketing, learn about this stuff, because knowledge is power and ignorance is not a reason. It's no more excuses. Like I have people like, girl, I don't even know how to start a business. Well, what have you done to start? And they were like, well, I ain't done nothing. I said, well, then you shouldn't start a business. If you haven't done anything, you shouldn't start a business, because you have to have action, and action is going to cause everything to move. If you're stagnant, it's just like water. Eventually it's going to stink. It has to be in constant movement. And so in business, you have to be in constant movement. You have to be around people who empower you to be better than you were yesterday or the day before. And if you're not around those kind of people and they're like, girl, you should just stop. Why are you hanging around people and why are you letting them affect you the way? If this is your journey, this is your journey. I've had people negatively impact me to where, girl, you need to start selling stuff cheaper. And I said, no, if you can't, and I don't ever hurt people's feelings by saying you can't afford me. I just say it's not in your budget. Because the
Right.
people who have the money for my art, this is what they do. Send me an invoice. If they're going to pay for it, they're going to pay for it.
Right.
So when people
Right.
try to bring you down and make you feel like you should lower your price, oh, because I know somebody else will sell it over there. I said, okay, you should go over there. Even in the hair industry, I know somebody. Why are you communicating with me and think that's going to affect me? Because if you can't, somebody else can. So make up your decision. If you want me as your hairstylist, you're not going to just get somebody who's doing your hair. You're going to get somebody who's listening to you. You're going to get somebody who's going to impact you in a positive way, especially about entrepreneurship. I know people who are talented and they're like, girl, I make hair products. I said, well, do this. Start a business. No, girl, I ain't that good. I said, who said? You. That's the only person in your way. Now this lady literally seen me one day at a dinner and start crying. She told everybody, that's her. That's her. She's the one that got me where I'm at. That lady is so successful right now. She brags about it all the time. I never asked her for a hair product. I never asked her for anything. I didn't even ask her to tag me in any of the posts. The reason why is I did it because I can and because I realized that it made her feel happy. It made her feel special. If I broke down on the freeway, trust me, there's a lot of people who have met me and totally are just like, I remember she was there for me. And they will pull over and make sure I'm always taken care of, because that's the kind of person you want to be. What does your identity mean? And I think a lot of people don't understand what that means. Like, are you a giver or a taker? This is different between the two.
Right.
Say, let me ask you real quick. I got just a few more questions here. I want to see. You had mentioned the grants a couple of times too. Can you just elaborate a little bit further on that? What are these grants
So
you're talking
through
about?
COVID, and a lot of people didn't. I always tell people you have to have a white friend. So Skip Ryder is he kind of, a lot of people piggybacked off him and they don't give him the credit that he deserved. He literally deals with SBA. So when SBA was going through all that drama and people weren't making their money or getting their money from the grants and stuff, I paid attention. And so I started learning from him different things. One thing I learned about grants is the AI is the one that picks your grants. So if you're so smart and you think you're filling out that little thing out and it sounds like, no. One of the questions was, why did I start my business? So I went on this little rant about I'm a single mom and blah, blah, blah. He has the AI, you press rewrite. It wrote 2,000 words. Now, if you want to shorten, you can. One thing about the grant information that I didn't know, every sentence has to have your business name, like literally. And Unikextensions is community-based, blah, blah, blah. And Unikextension, like it literally kept repeating my name. And if you think about a child missing, it's not the same subject, but think about a child missing, they're always saying that child's name. It's psychological. And so the AI actually picks up these grants. And so I had a lot of people through SBA, not through SBA, but when SBA was going through that, and I kept trying to help them. And I used to always say, I'm going to give you information. It's going to cost you a Snickers. And I would give them different grant information, everything else. And they kept saying, but my question to you is, have you gotten any of those grants? And I said, I'm going to be honest with you. It's none of your damn business. And the reason why I say that is because my business is different than your business. How I portray my business and how I make a statement about my business, what my brand is, has nothing to do with you. I did the work. I got the grant. So since 2020, I have not paid for any of my stuff because I'm constantly on a grant. What is a grant? It is a full-time job. You literally are on there and you're filling out. But with Skip Ryder, there's multiple grants. So all you have to do is press generate because it's already in the bank. So you literally save it and it's already there. So when you go to the next question, you press generate and it sets it up. Generate. So now you can do 5 applications in one day versus trying to read the questions because it tells you all the questions. Well, what you do is a cheat code. You copy it, all the questions. And then when you have one that's outside of his application, you now can paste it because now you have the answer. So it's called the cheat code, pretty much. And so I tell people, I said, well, did you go on there? Yeah, girl, I didn't have time. It's 7 days free. At 7 days free, you have 7 days to possibly make an impact on your financial future. You don't have 7 days, but you're on Amazon, you're on paying attention to everybody's business on TikTok. You're on Beagle Live, which I am on Beagle Live all the time. Like, I watch these people and they make excuses. And so grant is a job. It's like a full-time job. You clock in, clock out on it. So I spent a lot of time doing a lot of grants and stuff. I just got a grant from Riverside through SBA. I went through the mentorship program. After I went through the mentorship program, they had an opportunity for me to get a grant. Well, I had to do a spreadsheet. I never did a spreadsheet before. That's how it tells you that I was operating as a business, but I wasn't operating in business, if that makes sense. And so it taught me a lot of things that I weren't doing. One thing was to write out a spreadsheet. Another one is to write out a business proposal. Like, you literally made you do all the stuff that I should have been doing when I first started my business, but I didn't do any of that. I just skipped over the part, which was the most important part. And so at the end of it, I did the spreadsheet. I had to figure out the budget. Then it wanted me to say so I had to go through a 12-month calendar on how much money I would increase by the information that I received by the grant, like all this stuff. And so I ended up getting the grant, went directly into my bank account. Thank you so much, SBA. Thank you, mentorship program. And I learned a lot. When I say I learned a lot, I learned about things I didn't even need to know. But I learned the ins and out about things that were necessary. Packaging. I didn't realize how important packaging was. But I literally spent a lot of time researching grants, giving people information on grants. But some of them are time sensitive. And some people never even look. Like, you can literally Google your city to see if they have any grants. People don't even take the time to do it. And when I say grants through the city, that's totally different. Like, Palm Springs just had a grant for people who lived in Palm Springs. I think Marietta has a grant. Like, Moreno Valley has grants. Like, there's different cities. Now, mind you, Riverside County and the city of Riverside, they're not the same thing. So if you live in Riverside County, you might not qualify for the city. You have to live in the city of Riverside, not the county. Moreno Valley is not considered the city. Sunnymead is not, like, different parts. Just because you're from Marietta, it's not. So there's a difference between the county grants and the city grants, and you just have to know the difference. And so I usually try to help some people with the grant information, but it's always funny because people are paying grant writers. You don't need a grant writer. You need an AI. That's what you need. And if you don't know about it, you better research, because that's what's taking over these grants. That's why a lot of people are getting grants. But see, unfortunately, melanated people, they don't want to do the easy part. And now AI has made it so easy for you that if you don't take advantage of them, it's your loss. Stop complaining. Like, stop complaining. It's a choice. Like, if you want to sit down and fill your grants, and let me tell you, some of your kids are smarter than us. You can always hire your kids, pay them, pay your kids to sit there and fill out the grant information. They know how to use the AI. Once they got on there, all you have to do is just keep pressing the button. Get your kids to help you, if they have time. Utilize your resources, and a lot of people, like, I was on Black Riverside County and people were like, I'm looking for a mentor. I'm looking for this. And I'm the first nosy person in there messing up people with financial gains because they're mad at me because I'm giving free information out. I'm literally saying, go through this program, go through this. And then they're like, oh my God, thank you. Because that extra money that they're not spending $1,000 for these programs. Right. They give you, where these people are getting the information from? The same source I'm telling you. They use the same resources. And the whole thing is, it's got to be more than that. You can't just be telling someone, okay, this is what you do. It's more than that. You have to have that one-on-one personal kind of relationship. Like, I mentioned Skip, but Skip is the only one I deal with. Like, I'm gonna be honest with you. Skip is the only one I deal with because I can send him a message and he will respond to me. You know what I'm saying? If I have a problem with my AR or anything, there's a response. And the amount that you spend is only, I think it's $8.99 a month. At $8.99 a month, that's way cheaper than paying somebody to be a grant writer for you. Way cheaper. Right. He has more resources. He had the Beyonce grant. He had the NAACP grant. He had the Riverside grant, and it's different ones. He had some for agricultural, some for restaurants. So it wasn't just one thing.
Wow.
But looking for grants, And one thing I didn't mention, and it's a really important thing, is that you can go to your local colleges, and those college students who just graduated, you can literally go to them and say, hey, I need a photographer as an intern. You can find marketing interns, people who need you so that they can get a good grade. So what the marketing interns do is they literally go to your job. They got a report. They have a their school gives them I don't know, it's kind of like everything that they need to do. So basically, you're going through an internship program. They help you with the marketing. They go through your website, make sure they double check your website. They go through all this whole information. They do the photography. They do all that. You can go and get someone who does photography. You can get someone who does the social media. Like, there's so many different avenues that you can go to within the community college as an internship. They get the grade. But let me tell you something, pay them. That's all I can say. Don't do them like that. They're using their gas and everything to come help you. But I've seen where they put in a lot of energy in just actually helping you, and you're bettering them at the same time, and you're learning things as you're going along. So that's another source to go through that I learned through just going to different social media platforms. They don't tell you that. They don't tell you that you can use the school because they're going to school for something. And they get graded on it. So when they tell the judge, I'm saying the judge, when they tell their teacher, like, okay, I had this particular, they actually have to write down, okay, this is the prize, this and that, and they have to turn that into their teacher. Their teacher turns around and is like, okay, that's not right, you need to fix it. So now you have somebody to fix the problem. Like, he's going to tell him what he didn't do. He's getting a grade for it, because who wants a B? Like, most people are striving for an A, and so it's just a way and an opportunity to do something different. But a lot of people don't use resources. I'm just at the source of information. Sorry, guys.
No, that's perfect because
Oh, that's
not
amazing.
only
Yeah.
you're talking to us about it, you're talking to the listeners directly as to how to go about these things, and that's an important part of what we're trying to do in the podcast anyway. So I really commend you for having all that knowledge and being able to be able to regurgitate it in a way where people can understand. It's kind of one of those things that makes me proud of you. At the same time, because it's important to all of us that we showcase the talents of our women and showcase the talent of everybody that's out there. And you have a lot of that, understanding the arts and being able to do that is just special all by itself. Not knowing that when you're doing it, you're just coming up with it. It's not, there's no right or wrong to you when you're creating this art, which is great. And your understanding of business, just the idea that doing all of the creativity with your business, having 2 or 3 business, knowing how to make that work with your home, the taxes, and how to generate that business benefit, as we call it. And then, just being able to be out there in the community and talking to people, and you going out there trying to encourage them to find better ways to learn about themselves and their product, and how to do things that are just hard to do. Some people just don't like to be told anything about how they're doing their business, but the fact that one, don't have that filter, that means they're gonna hear what was gonna be heard, and then when they learn something from that, it's they're coming back and say, hey, that's the person that told me about what it is that I'm doing now. This is why I'm succeeding in the things that I'm doing in my business, and all of that is just a powerful thing to be able to bring to the listeners, to the people that are out there that are struggling, and then maybe they're going to learn something. I'm almost positive they will, because I've learned something in this conversation as well. So I just would like to ask you, what wisdom, what kind of wisdom you can give to those people that are out there? I know you talked a little bit about it as far as staying on track with your business. Don't worry about the family getting involved. Do what you need to do. But what is something you can really say in a few words that will help them to stay focused on their dream?
Um, what I would say is write it down. Write down everything. Write down literally, like you have to write down everything you want to accomplish, all the negative and the positive. Like you have to have a negative and a positive side. And I feel like if you write down the positive and the negative, then you can kind of go in the middle and figure out how you can meet them together. Like, what is your negative? My negative is marketing. My positive is that I have real good verbal skills. You know, I'm really good with communicating. How do I get this to my customer? How do I get these two to merge? And so I think writing down your negatives and your positives and working on fixing those negatives to turn into a positive is something that I would say. And I would call them not necessarily negatives. I would change the word to challenges. What is your challenge in business versus what you're able to accomplish in business? And then figure that out and start off with the part that really matters in business, and everything else will just kind of work its way out. So that's what I would suggest.
Wow. Anything you like to add, Razak?
I like I like the artwork. I like well how you're representing your companies. You was giving up a lot of game. This is it's the only way I can formulate the words of what it was. That's a lot of game. A lot of people don't know these things, and I also was educated on hearing what you been doing for your business and the way you've been going about it. It's I think a lot of people are going to have a more broader educated view, or I should say, approach to vending when they start going through these events. You know, I haven't really been, I don't have any products or nothing like that. So mine is a service. So I kind of excluded the tents and all those different things and chairs and hangers and everything else that people are bringing that they have to have. So, I'm kind of just looking at how you were saying about approaching different things, and that is how I approach people. I'm pretty, I'm not shy, or what I mean, I'll go up and talk to people, but at the same time, it's like a lot of the things that you were saying right there. These are things that people may not even really be thinking about. I mean, how that they're being the cause of their own downfall as far as their sales. As far as the progress that they could be having if they would have did something a little more different, a little more structured in getting their business. And that's pretty much how I go about, doing my service. That's what United Minority Business Ventures is about. What I mean, I try to help and aid in the process of getting your business going. And I just like the way that you explained it. A lot of things I don't have the particular set of articulate words to say all the time. I'm kind of set up in my own way of expression. So what I mean, but I like the way you said it right there, and and it would just cover a lot of things
Yes.
that I do, and a few things that I may need to improve on. So I'm taking away from this a lot more educated, a lot more knowledgeable, and I think I'm going to be trying to be doing things um, a lot more different in a more efficient way. So I thank you for what you have expressed and shared with us for today.
Yeah, I really am grateful that you joined us today on the podcast. It's been one of those things that KF&JF podcast is trying to promote, and everything you've talked about, everything that you've put forward, it's it's just a very proud thing to be a part of, because not many women can come out here and get on podcast and then start from beginning to end and really articulate everything, and put challenges out there. You put challenges out there to people to have them really think about, what are you actually doing with your business? Are you really just going out there to bring your dog, to be on the phone, to just chill for a little while? Or are you really trying to succeed in your business? And all of those different things that you mentioned is just what we want to share. And coming from you, it just sounds so right. It sounds like it's just something that needs to be said. So I like to again tell tell you, we're very grateful for you coming on the podcast. We're very grateful for you taking the time out of your day to be here. And if you have any last words for us, can you tell us, Joyce, what if
So
we
I want to
missed
tell you,
anything or things that you like to mention
I want to tell
and
you how you guys
get out
impacted
there? I
me.
would really like
One,
to.
you guys are down to earth. I'm gonna tell you guys right now, if you ever get the opportunity, they're super down to earth, super funny, super silly. Just your presence, like you guys make the environment comfortable because you guys are natural. You're not trying to put on the GQ with the gold chains, and the big earrings, and like you guys are in your natural way, and it just makes people feel more comfortable because sometimes you get around certain people and they're so uppity and they got their own little thing, and it was just really cool. And I can be honest, having Black men actually giving us Black women and getting a better understanding on the challenges that we go through kind of helps with even your businesses, because now like when you hear people talk, you have that statements that I possibly have made that can definitely change how people's mindsets are about how men can actually learn from women and vice versa, because a lot of women are like, men aren't helping us. It's not that. You just haven't met genuine people, and people who are genuine and are authentic. It's hard to meet people like that. Like there was no agenda with you guys. You guys like, hey, this is what it is, and this is just an opportunity for us to build. Well, also you built me, because now I'm like, wow, this is really cool. It was like I wasn't nervous, I wasn't worried about nothing. It was just like super comfortable. And so, the only thing I would say to business owner is, if you can't do it, pay for it. That's all I can tell you. If you can't do it, pay for it. Don't struggle. Don't go through the struggle. If it's something that you can't do, just pay for it. And I realize in my industry, I'm going to be honest with you, I really need the men to, I need a male, men sell art faster than women. I don't know how that's possible, but I've watched it. And so I actually am in Cool Boy's t-shirt and design, and I'm in his store for a reason, because he's a man and he's got my art in a man's space. And by him being a man, they receive totally different. So I see myself in my business growing because I'm learning how to use people in places that maybe I don't have the opportunity to sell, because, what I look like, I'm automatically getting the, what's your number? No, we're not. No, it's business, bro. It's business. Even on my Instagram, I tell people like that. If you're trying to flirt with me, just don't even do it. I'm gonna hurt your feelings. Okay, I'm about my money right now. Okay, bro, I don't have time. So he's giving me the opportunity to showcase my art. He also has Michelle, who's also another person that I socialize. Michelle Hopper.
We love Michelle. We love Michelle.
No, that's my girl. I'm gonna tell you a small story about my brain injury and the impact on people that I were around. So during my brain injury, Michelle was a big support. I just started out selling my art. She was there. And then I had Will Gibson. He was an artist. I mean, he had an art store. He came in and he helped me. So when I was having those periods where my brain injury was so bad and I was literally slumped over, I couldn't set up my tent. The support that I got from other vendors were, girl, sit down. People would bring me water, food. They would set up. I forced myself, I forced my body to get to the point where I was setting up my stations, and sometimes I couldn't do it. And so that was another reason why I had the traveling events, because I always had somebody who had my back. And I can tell you, Michelle has always been there for me. Hey girl, you need help breaking it down. Like I always had that kind of support system. So I give back from what I needed. Like I needed that help. And so that's why I'm of service. And I think a lot of people don't know how to be of service. And so I'm really grateful for the people who I've met through this vending journey, business journey. I've met so many people and they always say, are you okay? Because they know how bad it can get. At 114 degrees, 110 degrees, I've had people say, go to the restaurant. I got your spot. Don't worry about it. And they would literally cover me to make sure that I was still, they watched my stuff. They made sure that business was still running as usual. And so I'm grateful for the opportunity to have met you guys. I'm grateful for the people who I've met through my circle. And my journey's not over. I got a lot more stuff to do.
Wow. I
Don't we all?
I think you hit it on the nail there when you were talking about wheelhouse. I want to make this point because my sister mentions that a lot. You know, when you talk about pay for it if you can't do it, it's just like do what's in your wheelhouse, and then if you can't do it, get it done so you can move forward. So that's a great point. I'm glad you made. You know, like I said, I was so excited to have you on. Everything has been just so great, and we can't tell you again how much we appreciate it. So I look forward to talking to you again for sure, and you know, making sure that you stay in tune with us and everything that you're doing, anything that comes up new, any other stuff that you're doing. We want to make sure that the doors open here for us to have these conversations and to help others and lift them up. So I'm really wishing that you can come on tomorrow. Tell you the truth, but we'll definitely be doing this again for sure. So, Razak, anything last words you have?
No, your I think your art is unique. I think your talent is special. We never really gotten to maybe everything that you may have, surrounding it back there in the back. But I know if you got is there any other web pages or anything that's not running on the blue tape that you would like to tell the listeners and the subscribers where to reach you at?
So we've got Unik Extensions. That is also on my IG, www.unikextensions.com. That's how I do my booking. I do have pictures on there. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't really like to expose my customers, so my profile is there, but I don't go out of my way. My business stands for itself. I've been in business over 25 years. I'm well known. I'm in magazines, I'm in books, I'm a platform artist. So I have managed to be here for a long, long time, making the money I'm supposed to make at the time that I'm supposed to make it. So feel free to go ahead if you have anybody who has alopecia, some hair loss. I'm also studying for trichology. I'm not a trichologist, but I specialize in hair loss. I'm also an SMP artist, SMP scalp micropigmentation. If your hairline's going back, I can move it forward. So I just have this knack for being into every nook of my business. So those are my business. And Toy Box Salon is actually ran through Unik Extensions. And so I also have the ability to travel, but let's just say it costs. That's all I can say. Like, that's the transparency part.
Wow. Well,
Okay.
you know what, listeners out there, we're going to be looking forward to more from Joyce in the future, and we are so happy to have had this interview. And I thank everybody out there in advance for taking advantage of this information because I know you need it because I know you sitting out there ain't doing much, but she's got you lifted up and she's gonna make sure that you keep moving. And we really do thank her a lot. And we'll see you again on the other side. Thank you so much. Okay.